my dad was like, Sharon, call Joe Kaminsky. He can help you about the accident. I said, all right. So I called him up. He said, well, so far you haven't been charged with anything. But because you need to show insurance, do you have it, Sharon? I said, yeah, I can get it now. So I just got the car. Wasn't sure if it was or wasn't insured. With that being said, he said, well, if you go into the court and we deal with this part where they're asking if you had insurance, if you just plead that you have it now, we can move on. So I went to court, and me and Joe Kaminsky got this judge to agree that Sharon had insurance now, and going forward, Sharon will keep insurance, right? And then I got my Ford Focus. I got $1,500 in cash, and my dad went with me to Ford, and he co-signed for me with a lot of conversation, my Ford Focus. And as he co-signed for my Ford Focus with me, Reliance Star had the insurance. I had about $20 worth of insurances added to my car note, which they told me the gap insurance was taken after we renegotiated my loan and I went disabled. They took my gap insurance. So as my dad said, call Joe, me and Joe went to court, and I said, Joe, I don't feel good. He said, what? I said, I think my back is fucked up. He said, no, I don't believe you, you're lying. I'm not going to deal with you in any back injuries. I said, excuse me, it's from the accident. He said, look, I settled with you on the court with your insurance issues. You got insurance. I'm not dealing with any claims of bodily injury. I said, okay. Moved on, right? Now I'm still going to work. I'm driving my car. I'm having issues as I'm going to work. The issues was my back was killing me. I kept complaining of the seat belt. Like I said, the over-the-top was when the fire alarm happened. And then I had to run down them flights of stairs. And then my dad's talking about, look at the TV, where under George Bush, we had the World Tower Trade Centers going down. So when I look back and I think about how long they could have been playing mind games with me, I went all the way back to George Bush. And I went back to before him and his dad was in office, I went to Bill Clinton, because I looked at the year where I graduated, where Jim Long could have sued on my behalf and had an education fund, where my mom refused to acknowledge I graduated because she didn't like PYC. My dad came to the PYC graduation, and I got my diploma from Patrick Henry under passing all them tests and then making credit. I thought Jim Long under the Lutheran Brotherhood sued on my behalf because Jim didn't think that I should have been held back, which became No Child Left Behind for me. They then said people like Michael Cooper Sr. could just skip, not go to school at the age of 16, where under theory they now cut the supports and services for truant officers. They've now took money out of the school district to monitor children who are skipping school, letting them skip, letting them not graduate because nobody cared at that time if they did or didn't graduate, because a lot of times if they didn't pass the test, then they weren't making credit, and then they just became a dropout and nobody gave a fuck. With that being said, they could have passed the test but not made credit, so they're still withholding their diploma because under George Bush, who did No Child Left Behind, after I thought Bill Clinton created No Child Left Behind, which under my era, I thought maybe he could have found out about my education funds. He now had access to deal with that. So then there was no plan. So then under George Bush, we're now monitoring because the classes for my kids are now being overfilled. There's a such thing as we don't have to teach to grade standard anymore because all you niggers can't read. And because all you niggers can't read, you're not passing the reading test, which went to them withholding Shayla's reading test, saying that she passed it, but then she passed writing. It made no absolute sense to me. So it became a rape from a group of people under George Bush, where I thought people like Donald Trump and his constituents, where they just donated $55 million to fund more terrorism, was also looked at for me, because raping the Social Security fund, raping the education fund, these things, like I said, it baffled the mind how Bloomington got Bloomington High. One day I went to take a look at Bloomington. I drove my little happy ass all the way to Bloomington High by myself. Krisha didn't know it. And I just kind of went around the school. And I was looking at the school compared to Henry, not North. Henry, where I went to school, right? Why? Because we were about education, right? And even though for me, they kicked me out, I liked Henry, and I thought that I got credits in classes where teachers, like I said, that science teacher said, bitch, how the fuck did you pass? I'm sitting here looking at you. You came to class maybe 7-10 days, and look, bitch, you passed this test. You got the motherfucking grade, bitch. That's what my science teacher said. I said, okay, teach. Why? Because I was overeducated in my head. And when they said I was overeducated but uneducated, I thought that meant that I hadn't had a degree. Like, oh shit, Professor Bedecker. Look, I'm viewing it differently now 10 years later. At the time, it was very racist. And then they removed that from my online, she took it back. Don't even worry about it, Sharon. I took that out your critique, and nobody's going to see that. And even though Professor Soka said you should go be a tutor, they knew that you weren't going to be a tutor because black people don't know shit. So Normandale basically, in my mind, first discriminated against me at that level by not letting me tutor. And then on another level, that aided Amy Jane Getz in saying that Sharon couldn't have tutored Michael when she was saying she homeschooled him. And with the homeschool, all I did was buy a test. The first time I pulled Michael out, remember now, I pulled my kids out of school. I pulled Keenan out of school once from Neil. I pulled Keenan out when they did the coat game. Then they did the please and thank you game. And then the face down in the dirt eating worms. At that point, I had had enough. I thought the special education department was taking the time out to give him a reward system and then teaching him negative things, which at that time became, Mom, did Grandma whoop me? I said, what? Did Grandma Mildred whoop me? I said, well, did she whoop you? He said, I'm asking you. And I said, I'm asking you. He said, Mom. I said, Keenan. And then we both looked at my mom. And she was highly offended. I said, oh, shit, no more Neil. Because now I got Q-Bear on the radio talking about, bitch, you ain't getting no ride in motherfucking Neil district. I said, motherfucker, what? Watch, you gonna put your kids in this district, bitch. I said, okay. And then that's when I applied for the Cooper district again. And then I put Keenan in Cooper again, the district. I put Michael in Cooper again. And not only didn't they have a bus coming, they had big-ass buses, and I was complaining at that time. I'm calling up the school district, snapping about why they're sending a big-ass school bus that transports like 85 kids, and they're just picking up Michael. And they said they didn't have a small bus at that time to come pick up Michael. I said, okay, well, if you want to waste funds having a big-ass school bus. And then with Keenan, they were having also, you know, a bus come for Keenan at that point, right? Now, Keenan was getting the little bus. Keenan was getting door-to-door services. As I'm telling them I want to put Keenan on the school bus and get a stop on the corner. They're like, no, he can't do that. And I said, well, he just did a whole summer of summer school with little to no independent education supports. So I felt like Keenan said, I want to ride the school bus around like everybody else, which was his friends, where he was supposed to be making friends so that when they asked me, does Keenan have friends at school, then he would have the opportunity to make friends at school, because he wasn't, missing any opportunities where playtime was concerned, where these bonding of children, maybe sharing a test in the classroom, maybe being grouped together because they got to read together, maybe because the teacher wants to send them all down the hall and go collect these papers, pencils, and these Kleenexes from the storage locker that's on the first floor down the hall and to the right around the corner, where only, the teachers know where it's at, but the teachers is going to assign these great A students to go down that hall to pick up them pencils and that Kleenex and, that paper and stuff. I'm just saying, because I could have all kind of anxiety attacks about why I'm a lawyer. Keith never helped me. Bobby never helped me. We don't pillow talk. And I said there was many opportunities that I let go that I could have sued people under. Really? Did you just hear me all morning? I'm just saying right now I'm looking at the admin of Washington. Yeah. You want to take over this madness and, make a deal under Joe Biden. Seems like he wants my vote. Or maybe Donald Trump wants my vote, which would be blackmail. Blackmail is withholding something that someone wants in order to get a specific outcome. So, no offense, Judge Herzing, I thought that Sheriff Madison didn't have a case, and but for her, Paul Bearchi, my son wouldn't have a case with the judicial system. So, Paul Bearchi, remember when I wrote that complaint and I said that police needs to stop using attorneys that are paid by the state of Minnesota to retaliate in some way. I said, because for me, I thought that I was a witness, and that when you have a witness to support a side, you're supposed to get them to court, which would be denying him access to a fair and just defense. So I came after Rebecca Spence. I said, Rebecca Spence, did you put forth your best effort? And she said, yeah. I said, well, why wasn't I brought to the county via Zoom, where you could just set up a Zoom and then you could have cross-examined me or examined me as a witness, which was free, right? I'm free, because I thought that she had opportunity to call the police as I'm backing out the garage versus when we left the premises, right? Because if the phone worked when we left the premises, the actions where 10 steps there, 10 steps back could have been calling 911, could have been done, was stating that she wasn't deprived of that. I thought that until there was a test that proved she was or wasn't pregnant, then you couldn't say that he was trying to harm something. I thought they were trying to imply he was trying to harm a fetus that he may or may not know exists, which, by way, again, if it's his child, I don't think he would want to kill his child, considering how many he has. Where an abortion, by the way, if he didn't want it, could have been done or discussed. I don't remember him saying, Mom, I asked her to get one, she didn't want one. Orson Folks, I thought, asked my sister, no offense, Eric, to get one, and my sister refused, and then she had the baby, and then she tried to penalize Orson for being a bad father. I always uplifted him for doing the best he could, because I went back to the day that he said he wasn't ready to be a father. But we had Eric, who was a wonderful addition to the family, and we welcomed him and loved him best that we could. But it didn't change the fact that for me, I here had a case study where a man, again, asked a woman who, again, had the sole privilege to bring a life into the world with too much power, by the way, because now you're making him do something. And you could say, well, he shouldn't have had sex. Well, that's not fair. That's not fair when somebody could have been on birth control. Somebody could have monitored their body under the body basal temperature so that they know when they're ovulating. Because me, I felt it, I thought that I now again, being sober, where my doctor is asking me to focus on something specific, could now tell you when I was and wasn't ovulating, thus getting pregnant with Shayla and little Michael, right? So I felt like here this man didn't want, so then I had these domestic cases in my head where I can now use them in comparison in court. So I'm saying I don't think that he was trying to harm the baby, right? So then that X's out two things right there. The most egregious was you said that he tried to stop her from calling 911. Well, me as a witness saying that she was charging him, you know, coming out the garage, you know, beating up the car. Oh, my son's calling. Is he getting ready to get out of jail? Is he getting ready to be free, no bail? We get our $800 back. I'm broke.